Can you please read the notice?
Adequate notice of this meeting was given in accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act by mailing a schedule of the Township Committee to the Express Times and North Star Ledger newspaper, posting a copy on the Township Bulletin Board, and filing a copy with the Township Clerk.
Please join me in salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Perez?
Here.
Siegel? Here. Emiliani? Here. Kalari?
Here.
Toriello?
Here. Before we start the agenda, and I'm looking at the order, because tonight, by and large, the majority of the agenda is going to involve a discussion of budget. I just think it might be in the interest if we move the public comment period up first, and then ask if anybody has anything that they'd like to state, that they come to the podium up and state their name. But first, I guess I have to make a motion to open up for public comments.
Make a motion. All in favor?
Aye.
No, I'm going. I'm waiting. Go. You're already up.
Angela Bayless, 729 Jackson Road. Last meeting, the 3-minute rule caught me off guard at the last minute, so I had to shorten my comments. At the last meeting, I made some. Can you hear me? Is this mic on?
Is it turned on?
Doesn't sound like it's
Power?
on.
think it sounds like it's on.
I can hear you, but I don't think it's on. No, it's definitely not working.
I got some more batteries in this thing.
You put batteries in at the last.
I know, and it was turned off.
Here you go.
Here we go. That's on.
Thanks, Chief.
At the last meeting, I made some comments about the Rotary Corks and Forks dinner. I just want to state that the comments that I made were from me alone as a citizen of Greenwich and did not come from the Phillipsburg Rotary Club. It's been my personal goal since last year to use the Corks and Forks as a method to bring dedicated citizens from Greenwich to know the Rotary better, with the long-term goal of creating a Greenwich Rotary. Last year, some of the people who I honored actually paid for the tickets anyway, doubling the donation. This year they all came, and I invited a new level of honorees. This year, Greenwich brought in over $900, a good portion of the Corks and Forks dinner. Now the reason I picked Kim as an honoree was that Kim is the hub of everything that happens in this town. Everything depends on her. She's here days and nights, and her family has served this town for many years. She is, pardon the pun, the stone that needs to be valued. I've been in that place where I worked, and I know the pressures that she's under. So Kim, when I saw you limping at a Saturday meeting, it just solidified that in my mind. Kim, I didn't include an RSVP, so you didn't have to respond. So if my comments embarrassed you, I'm sorry. I know that you and Tanya will be able to work out your differences if you don't have any outside influences. Both of you have the town's best interests at heart. Tanya is one of my past honorees. Tom, the reason I picked you as an honoree was your past dedication to emergency response and recreation department and the years you helped the town. Joe, the reason I picked you as an honoree was your action regarding the asphalt plant. If you recall, I had publicly thanked you for that, and during the hearings, I assisted our attorney, John Drill, with tapes of the hearing so that he could prepare his appeal. I remember you appeared surprised when I gave you a copy of the tapes. Joe, I didn't include an RSVP so that you didn't have to respond. So if my comments embarrassed you, I'm sorry. However, one of the four-way tests of Rotary is it fair to all concerned. So in all fairness, I'm going to give you a friendly tip. A mayor of the township is the ultimate public servant. He serves each citizen in his township. In effect, we all pay your salary. When a citizen pays tribute to you, even though it's not required, it may be a good idea to acknowledge it and accept it or reject it with thanks. I'm sure that if the invitation came from a senior partner in your law firm, RSV or not, you would have said something. Just a friendly tip, Joe. The other reason that I picked the two new members of the committee was try to get everyone together, breaking bread in a non-political environment, enjoying a night of giving to others. That was obviously not successful. But I will not give up. I'm a positive thinker. I know everyone wants what's best for the town. And someday you will realize you don't have to do that on somebody else's back. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to make public comment?
My name is Patrick Miller, representing Four Paws Playground over in southern side of Greenwich Township. I'm here due to the fact of there are two businesses inside of Greenwich Township. I have spent 9 months obtaining all my D variances, all my C variances, and spent a ton of money to get these things approved. We're in the process of starting to build our facility, and we were held out a little bit because we owe some money to the township, which we've gotten resolved in the last couple days. But what aggravates me more about it is my competitor, January Kennels, has been notified since 1998 in formal documentation stating that she's been in violation. She then was submitted an application in 2008, pulled it for whatever reason that was, and we all did in 2008 because the economy went down. And then she went ahead and built. Greenwich Township was notified in December 2010. She's still operating outside of her resolutions, and I want to know why. I want to know why she's able to operate outside the resolutions when I spent the time, got it approved, before I was able to move forward. Why myself, other businesses who've been approved or denied have been told that we have to follow these guidelines and get approvals. When another business inside of Greenwich Township has built, still using the facilities, we're taken to court, proved guilty, and pleaded guilty, excuse me, and still able to operate outside of those boundaries. So other businesses can come in and do the same thing. And why was I instructed I had to follow the guidebooks that I was being a Greenwich Township business? I'm asking that question. The question is why does one business have to follow rules and the other one still gets away with it, able to operate, generate revenue, and has going forward with the procedures after 13 years of being told that they had to follow this, and the letter stated that she did anything to her property, she would have to go in front of the Board of Adjustments.
This is a public comment period, so it's really not a question and answer session. That notwithstanding, I will briefly state, as you know, I met with you and your council to hear your concerns. I've only been the mayor and on the township committee since January of this year, as you know, so I cannot comment as to what did not occur prior to January of this year or the reasons why. But you should know, while I can't get into the specifics, and I will defer to our council if I'm going too far, because it's going into an area that we may not be able to discuss. I think I can just say generally, I can tell you with an abundance of confidence that this township committee has taken all necessary and required actions to ensure that the letter of the law is followed and and applies to everyone. Have I stated too much?
No, that's fine. I mean, this township committee has authorized me to take a certain legal approach, which we're looking at, we're gathering the facts. I appreciate the email that you sent me today that has additional information, and we have the file from Pat Dottie, and as I explained, and as Pat Dottie explained to you, there is a $60,000 statewide judgment lien against the property at this moment.
I understand, but is she going to be able to operate? And again, I know you guys can't answer this, but my concern is she still able to operate outside of her resolutions, which are a bunch of variances, while she's obtaining her resolutions? I know there's no answer to that, but I'm getting it out in the record that that's, to me, is a slap in my face that spent the money and went and got the approvals. So I know it's not question and answers, but I'm stating the fact that that's a little disgraceful to me that I had to go through this, and I'm looking at it and saying, okay, I'm losing revenue because of it, and if she's able to obtain her approvals while she's getting and staying able to operate those outside of that, that's, again, I have an issue with that. And I know it's question and answer, I just stated my fact.
I understand that, and I can, again, I can tell you, it was literally weeks from the time that you and I met, and literally weeks from the time that you first brought this issue to my attention,
I understand.
that this township committee together undertook what I can represent to you is the swiftest and strongest action authorized under the law, and it is in the process of being undertaken. And I can assure you that there is nothing further that could be done that we have not authorized. And we have aggressively and collectively heard the concern and have responded to it. And I just don't think I can say anything
That's
more
fine.
than that, other than give you assurances that we have not taken half-hearted measures, and that we're doing all, we are going to seek all relief that the law allows us to seek.
Like I said, I was looking just to bring it publicly, but I thank you for answering that question. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to make public comment? Seeing no hands, is there a motion to close public comment?
Make that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. This is a first reading of an ordinance 2012-10. I can read this by title only, or? Yes?
Yeah, you can
Okay.
read it.
This is an ordinance committing for expenditure certain affordable housing trust funds. Should I provide a brief explanation, just so people understand beyond the title? The long and short of it is, if monies are not dedicated for use by in a legally recognizable manner by July 17th, I think, of this year, our township would stand to lose in excess of $1 million back to the state. So this action, this ordinance will provide what we hope to be, sufficient action to protect and preserve those funds that are dedicated for COA housing.
Affordable income housing.
Yeah, affordable income housing. Yeah, okay.
I'll make that motion.
Yeah, you're moving to have a first reading on this ordinance.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Okay, so this, I just read it again, or?
Uh,
Because I kind of read it before the motion, I guess. Is that probably?
Yeah, what's the ordinance number?
It's 2012.
Okay, so you're moving ordinance 2012-10, entitled an ordinance committing for expenditure certain affordable housing trust funds.
So it's been made and seconded?
Yes.
Okay, so any comment? Roll call?
Perez,
Yes.
Siegel,
Yes.
Miliani.
Yes.
Valori.
Yes.
Toriello.
Yes. If we can take out of order again, I'd like to do the,
Can I just ask one question?
Yeah.
about This is the second reading on the 17th?
Second reading will be on the
Yes.
17th, and
Mhm.
Stu Koenig's coming for that, right?
Yes, Attorney Cronin will be here. It's on the back of your notice here, on the
Okay.
back of this ordinance. First reading, the third, second reading is scheduled for the public hearing the 17th.
and if we could do the historical commission
Yes.
item on the agenda now.
Mhm.
And I Is this have to do with the loss of, oh, this is, I'm sorry, that's the
Yes,
different.
the Historical Commission has a townwide yard sale the first Saturday in October. That's their fall. And I spoke with the president, and he is pushing. And it's actually either going to be the 2nd or the 9th. I just have to set a date, but the township committee needs to.
You said October, but this says June, so
This is
they're
the
moving
spring.
it up?
They're doing a
Okay.
spring one
They're doing
also.
Two.
Yes.
Oh,
So they'll have a
Okay.
spring and a fall.
Fall.
Yes, and then next year, we'll set this up a little better, because usually when we have it the first Saturday in October, the following 2 weekends is cleanup. So next year, if we look for the spring one, we'll shoot for the first Saturday in May, and then have the 2nd and 3rd week in May for cleanup.
And what are you looking for here?
Just authorization.
Authorization,
Yes,
okay.
because the way that the ordinance reads, a township resident is allowed to have 2 yard sales per year, with the exception of approval from the committee to the Historical Society for their fundraiser
Okay,
to have, this would be actually 4, a resident would be allowed to have 4 yard sales per year.
okay, so this is an authorization to allow residents to have
And it's a fundraising for the
The
Historical
Historical
Commission.
Commission is sponsoring.
sponsoring it, but it's the yard sale is for the residents, that's the
Yes.
authorization is for. I'll make that motion.
Second.
And that motion is being made for June 2nd only, correct?
Won't you,
Or
won't
the
you
ninth.
do 2nd or 9?
You can, if you put it in the motion.
Yes.
A motion for June 2nd or
Or the
9?
9th.
Okay.
Okay. Would you make a motion on the 2nd?
Any comment? Roll call?
Perez?
Yes.
Siegel?
Yes.
Miliani?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Toriello?
Yes. That brings us to discussion on the budget. You have goodies for us?
I do.
I thought you might.
Excitement starts. These are just budget work papers. They are not available to the public, so I didn't make additional public copies. That's our sheet. This is a working document.
I should say Bronx.
Yeah.
Still on Italian time?
We'll get you back to Jersey times.
I don't know how much you want me to go over. I'll start from the beginning. Start from the beginning, and we're gonna do it like we used to do it.
The first page is the revenues. I went back through 2009, that was the most easily accessible. 2009, 2010, and 2011. The columns represent the budget, what we actually, or what was anticipated to be raised, and what the actual income was. The very bottom figure is the surplus balance, the end of the year for 2009, 2010, and 2011. One of the things I'd like to point out is that going into 2012, there's only a surplus balance of $592,000. To get the budget where it stands right now, if you look at the very, very bottom figure in the first column, that's the amount of the increase that we're at right now. That is a little different from when I met with Committeewoman Miliani earlier. I found an error in addition when I was trying to do a really nice looking pie chart that didn't work out. I found an error in the formula that it wasn't picking up the auditing fees and elections. So, that's about $47,000 higher than what we had anticipated. But we're using $475,000 in surplus, and we still have that, I guess I'll call it a substantial tax increase. I know
You can use the
mayor-
word substantial.
The mayor had said that he would like that to be a zero increase.
Absolutely.
To get to that, you would have to cut $372,000.
That's what we need to do.
I don't, do you want to go through line item by line
Mhm.
item? For surplus, I mentioned that already. Most of the other revenues, the amount you can anticipate is only limited by what you collected the previous year. If you have, for some reason, an expected increase, if, say, your alcohol licenses used to be $100 a piece and you change your fee ordinance, and this year they're going to be $200 a piece, you can apply to the state and get a special permission to anticipate more than you collected the prior year. So the alcohol license, the court fees, the interest on tax, interest on investments, they're all limited to what was actually collected the prior year. We kept those pretty close.
So we'll notice that in 2009, going across, there's been a steady decline in the revenues.
Absolutely, in almost every category.
Yeah, by 120, well,
We lost the license.
yeah. Oh, you mean just on that?
We lost the license.
Also, I mean, your interest on investments is really tanking
Where-
from 30,000 down to 3,000.
Right.
How much you can
Do about that, I know.
There is no true state aid that Greenwich receives. The state sticks the energy receipts underneath state aid, but it's really not a true state aid. If everyone's not familiar with that. The energy receipts used to be collected locally by each municipality, just like the cable TV, the cable franchise TV is collected locally. Well, the electric companies used to pay that directly to the municipalities until the state decided in its infinite wisdom that it would be so much easier for them to collect that revenue and then pass it along to the municipalities. So the $315,000 of energy tax receipts is really a local revenue that the state just funnels back to us under the guise of state aid. The clean community, it's always been
I know, it's a
It has
disingenuous, I know.
It has, we were anticipating an increase because they've actually told us that we're getting an increase.
no, actually, from what was budgeted in 2011,
Yeah.
it's the same exact amount. In 2011, the actual, it looks like we're increasing from 283 to 315.
Yeah.
That's the amount of revenue that was posted last year. I didn't go back.
You're just going off
Okay.
Yeah,
actuals from the prior year.
Right. There may have been that amount received. I don't know. A lot of municipalities did suffer a percentage decrease depending on how they replied to the best practices survey.
Yeah.
I did not find one in the office, so I don't know if we,
I can give you one.
okay, I don't know if we did lose that. You can lose up to 5% of your final payment if you didn't answer enough yes questions. And I'm going to guess that there's probably a lot of ones that wouldn't have been validly answered yes. I have been told that we received a Safe and Secure grant, but I didn't get a copy of the letter. Kim, do you know?
Yes.
Was that around 36,000?
Which one was it? It was-
30,000.
30.
Is it an actual flat 30? Because it wasn't last year 27 or something?
Last year was
25.
24.
25,392.
Can I get a copy of that?
Yes, because we're doing the grant paperwork now, so yeah.
Can we talk about clean communities? Isn't that one of the things that we had?
Yes. This, that you have anticipated 10,356.83. Did you get notification on that?
I got notification from you.
That we got this Clean Communities grant for 2012? Okay, that was nice of them to give us this money. All right.
Do you
Yeah,
have
we have- we
confirmation?
anticipate
Do we have
that, we know that
confirmation?
the governor received 16 million more.
Mhm.
16
Yes.
million.
Yes.
And that those people who have been receiving Clean Communities grant monies
Mhm.
are probably going to get more money.
Yes.
Do
We
we
have an
qualify?
issue, we have an outstanding issue that needs to be addressed with this grant.
With the previous grant.
Yeah,
Yes.
because it wasn't done. It wasn't, the paperwork wasn't done.
All right, so they've notified us we're getting the 10, but we might,
Yeah,
okay, all
I
right,
think that was a preliminary figure,
yes.
but I don't know if it's an actual confirmation.
all right.
We may lose that 10, but we just gain 30 for Mitch.
Well, that's an every year one, the same
Yeah,
as
we
the
need
current.
to-
Yeah, we had that 30 and when we did it.
But
You
it's
had
not
it in the last
actually
budget?
30,000.
We're not in a position to be losing any more grants, so I want to make sure that as part of tonight's discussion, that this township committee and our new finance will not make the mistakes of last year and not filling out simple paperwork and losing thousands of dollars, so that we don't have to make these tough decisions. And that is,
What grant
that's
are
the
we
clean
looking at?
communities we lost.
And who was supposed to fill that out?
It's financial documentation that they're requesting. It's nothing with me, it's all the finances and payroll info and everything on it. We got the letter from the state. It was due June 2011.
I would just like, as part of whatever the discussion is, that we can have assurances that there is a protocol in place to make sure that we're all clear on who's doing what, when, it's in a diary, that, you know, that this becomes a perfunctory task every year for our township, so that, you know, whether it's this township committee or any other, that we're not we're not put in this position to have to be looking to cut at other places because we didn't get money that, quite honestly, if we just filled out some paperwork, we would have. And
Do we
that's
know if
unfortunate.
do we know how to go about getting this paperwork to them so that we may be eligible to
Yes.
get more money?
I
Have you talked to the auditor?
I went online,
Okay.
and I have the forms,
Okay,
based off of the letter that was sent to Joe,
okay.
and I have the forms, and I can fill out the general information with, township info, but the financial
Has to be
information, I'm
done.
gonna work
Have we
with
ever
Lorraine.
applied for this before, prior
Yes,
to
every year,
Yeah.
every year?
every year we get it.
It hasn't always been done by the finance officer, the clean communities coordinator never.
No, he doesn't, no, they don't have any of the payroll info,
It's
or any of the
payroll.
litter patrol, or.
And you've never submitted it, Kim?
Never.
Ever?
Never did clean communities grant, I do tonnage, clean communities.
All right, so go on, safe and secure.
So we have Safe and Secure for 30. That takes the amount now that has to get cut down to 342,000. Delinquent taxes, I had originally set that at 250,000, not knowing how the annual financial statement would turn out. The auditor completes that along with information from 2011's collections for the taxes. It also performs calculations for the delinquent tax collection rate. So there's a maximum that we can anticipate of $309,000. I would say that you can comfortably increase to 275 from 250, and get an additional break, so to say, on your delinquent tax collections.
Have the delinquent notices gone out yet?
The taxes.
When do they normally go out?
I don't think that that board has scheduled. I just set a schedule with him last week. I told him that I'll do my best to get that ready for him.
So do we take another 25,000 off of this?
Yeah, 342 less 25. Anybody wants to shout out math answer, feel free.
That, I'm not even going there.
Do you need a calculator?
317.
I'm getting some.
All right, we're at
It
370.
might do something with you.
317, and are you gonna still keep the 88569?
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I don't know what that is either.
Just the balance of what, of the 372,885,
Oh,
you know,
right.
Yeah.
just the extra, the change.
Why don't we just call it 318?
Okay.
Get rid of the rounded up $200.
So that completes the revenue portion. If you would turn to the next page, page 1, this begins our appropriation section. I did the same thing for the appropriations as I did for the revenues. I went back from 2009.
I'm sorry.
Just a quick question. How come you don't have any anticipated revenues for any of the other grants?
Because I have no knowledge of any confirmations that we're going to receive any of those grants.
Right now, as we're doing the budget.
Okay.
So without those kinds of confirmations, we
Right.
don't anticipate that.
Most
We're not
of them-
gonna throw in an average number based on last year's actuals?
And we don't even know if they're available. They have to,
It's not a certain.
Then like
They send out notices.
recycling tonnage, stuff like
Oh,
that,
that's
that we
different
know,
with these
that we
grants.
know we're gonna
Do you have any
recycle
confirmation
something. Are we
on
gonna put a
that?
flat line in there as an estimated?
I don't know. On yours, Kim.
I'm sorry.
Recycling.
Kim,
Just like,
under the grants,
Yes.
under this thing, like,
Are
I'm
we gonna
saying,
get
is the-
$46,000?
are we gonna get that, or are we gonna
It can't go
assume
to
a
the general
flat
I won't know until it's,
until it's filed? I mean,
well, until it's
done.
reviewed at the state and how they do the breakdown.
So whatever's not
As to what
definite
it comes
doesn't get
down per
included.
dollar.
But more importantly, with the recycling tonnage, it can't go into the general budget. It goes into the environmental or the recycling or whatever. It has to be
It has a
dedicated
dedicated
fund.
Right, no, I understand.
We think it's.
That's
But it's a
why
good question. I mean,
It
it's
is a good
not.
question.
There's just a lot of anticipated blanks. So
Yeah.
I wanna know that we're not anticipating anything? All right.
Well, let me ask you.
Body
How about
armor
the
replacement?
DOT grant that we just awarded the contract a couple weeks ago for the final work?
The one that was from 2008.
Yes,
Yeah, that we have anything to do with it.
but if we get the check for 150K from the DOT,
That
that
should have been anticipated as a revenue in 2008.
Well,
You received
okay.
the award notification.
All right, so we can't anticipate that.
Right. Do we know if it was?
Do we know if it was? That's a good
I just
question.
said exactly the
that's a good
same
question.
thing.
I can go back and look, it should have, there was an ordinance that set aside the funding. The ordinance would have been the appropriation tool that would have set your
Right.
revenue there.
You know
Do
what
you
though,
want
but
the budget- do you want the budget
given,
for 2009?
given the
No.
history, you may want to go back and check, because
you
Michael's
have
right,
the
if it
ordinance?
wasn't,
The ordinance?
let's
Well,
not.
it's
What's the name
$150,
of the budget?
that's not chicken fee. I mean,
That's
that's
right.
why I'm saying, I don't
Ordinance.
believe that we've
Which is for
gotten
which one?
any of that
For the
grant
NJDOT.
yet, even though we're obviously mostly finished with the project, other than this little work that.
$150,000.
That'd be worth checking into, that might be one mistake that we'd be happy to find out occurred.
Michael, I'm glad you came.
Uh,
Yes.
Chapter 159,
No, it should have been an ordinance, a bond ordinance.
a bond ordinance in 2008.
Well, it was, what was the number? 2,000, it's in my engineer's report, which I didn't bring tonight because it wasn't a regular meeting. It references the bond ordinance that was adopted in '08.
Mhm.
I don't remember the number. But if she has a copy of my engineer, it's the number of the bond ordinances in the report.
She just wants to see if it's been,
Yeah.
if it was allocated into the budget, because that's the next step she's gotta look at.
So we only went back as far as 2009.
Keep our fingers crossed.
Keep going.
Yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's all right, that's no problem. Shout out what you have as we go.
That's what this workshop is for.
There you go. For the appropriations, I just went in order of the state CAFR numbers. So, starting with administrative and executive, there's no salaries and wages. That's really where mayor and council should show up. So in the future, I'd like to move that up. For this year, I'll keep it as it is. Last year, actual spent was a little over 42,000. This year, right now, it's at 40,000. The sub-accounts don't count for anyone but us for our internal record keeping. The state will only see, on the official budget, administrative and executive, other expenses of 40,000. That's the amount that cannot be spent higher than. If you interchange monies between sub-accounts, you can overexpend one sub-account, underspend on another sub-account, as long as you don't go over that
The
OE
total,
total.
right.
It's fine.
And the total, this is where the totals, this has been cut based on the February resolution that we made to cut the O&E budgets by 15%.
Correct.
So all these budgets here that are in bold are not salaries though, it's just O&E.
Right, this is just OE. Another change that I did do as well.
I have a question.
Yeah.
The postage, is that an error? Because in 2011, you had 928.77, and then in 2012, you have 9,000.
Yeah, in the past, each department paid separately they had their own postage
Okay.
item. One of the things that the state made a request of, I think it was in 2007 or 2008, was they wanted similar expenses to be grouped together. Mostly it's your utilities, your telephone, all your electricity, postage, things like that. Anything that has a conglomerate total from department to department, they wanted specifically in one place so that all the budgets would be uniform throughout the state and they could look and say, well, Greenwich pays this much for their telephones, not police pay this for their phones, DPW pays this for their
Got it.
phones. They want everything
You
together.
just merged everything together.
Which is
Yeah.
also happening
Right.
with cell use
Mhm.
and things like that.
And the reason that it appears 9,000 in 12 but not 11 is it hadn't been merged until this year.
Right, right.
So even though we were asked to do it in 2008, it was never done.
Well, yeah, it wasn't told about that. It was still segregated under each department, so what I did is I went through and I looked at each department, what they had spent, and I included that in the total
Understood.
under administration. The other thing was the clerk didn't have her own budget account. All of her departmental expenses, her education, her office supplies, they were all grouped into administration. So now they have been separated out so that you can see exactly the expenses that are specifically for your clerk's office. So every pencil she buys will come out of her own budget, not from the administrative budget. The administrative budget is really for things that everyone's going to use, like copy paper, or generic postage, things like that. Anything that the council would need, business cards, printing materials. It's not for something specific, like my pen should come out of my department. Everything was pulled out that the clerk had used, and now she has her own OE account. It's easier to track. So do you want to go through all the sub-accounts, or do you want to just go in bulk now and then take your time and review it and come up
I
with
think that,
suggestions.
I think that both Tom and Joe have not really been a
Yeah, I'd
part of
like
this
to go
budgeting
first.
process, and Dan has only got 1 year, and I don't think we did it this way when you were here last year.
They're gonna serve
So
most of
this
us
is an
well.
opportunity for them to understand what you're talking about in a clearer fashion.
Read.
For mayor and council, you guys just have a salaries and wage line item. I did group the 4 committees together because they have the same salaries. The mayor is separated because his salary is different.
Why does he get more?
I'm sorry?
Why does he get more?
I don't
I
know.
still don't understand it. We're only kidding. I understand it completely.
Email's the fastest.
I don't want to.
That might have
I don't
something
want
to
to.
do.
I don't know about that. You have to-
See?
Okay, you right now.
Okay.
The second page brings us into the municipal clerk. Itemized under salaries and wages are your clerk and your assistant. The total after the name for the assistant is the estimated number of hours. The OE is there, it's a complete creation, everything was pulled out of administrative from last year. Elections, even though that's under the clerk, that's not her own personal elections, that's what she would have to buy ballots for the county and things like that. Finance and administration, there is a big difference, because now you have a shared service, so you're not paying anyone directly except for additional work. And
So where does that fall in this budget?
it's close to the very
shared
end.
service?
It's an
Okay.
outside the cap appropriation. Any shared service, the state encourages that, so they allow you to appropriate that outside the cap so that it doesn't have an impact on.
We were looking at whether or not we could apply for grant dollars, because there was some sort of incentive to go along with that,
With shared
with
services.
shared service.
Yeah, I know there was quite a while ago. I don't know if there's still anything in effect now.
Okay.
But that's something that
But
we can.
maybe Alpha's looking at it and we don't know about it. Which is
I don't
fine.
know.
Lorraine, under financial administration, salaries and wages, you have 15.3 here.
Mhm.
What is that specifically?
For additional work, for backup work, which no one has agreed to yet. It's
No, I'm talking about just the salary, the 15.3 is,
That's the total for myself for extra and for an assistant for 10 hours a week.
what do you mean extra?
For additional work that would be required,
Which you
other
have
than the
been
16
doing.
hours a week that was.
So have we already paid you some of this
No,
extra?
not at all, nothing.
So, okay, so I need to understand this. So, financial admin, salary and wages, the 15.3, that's the total of the 75 and the 78,
Correct.
okay? So it's a CFO additional for you, 7,500, so that's in addition to the 35,000 that we have under the shared service agreement.
Correct.
I don't think we ever talked about this.
No, we didn't. This, because when we first did this, we didn't understand at that point in time the actual additional work that was going to have to be done to get us up to the efficiencies that the state is requiring us. It's a consideration that Lorraine put in, that we talked about, that to present to the governing body, and that's exactly what we're doing. There's no authorization for it, there
No,
hasn't
no,
been
no.
anything.
There was no
There was just discussion because
So this is
you were
proposed.
putting,
Right.
yes, we were putting in. And so far, I mean, I think you've been here every other Saturday since you started.
Well,
And-
the only reason I'm asking about this is because, you know, you put a fact sheet together when you presented the savings back in, I think it was January, for the shared service.
Yes.
And you stated to the tax, you said that there was gonna be a savings to the taxpayers of $83,000, more than $83,000. And before even knowing about this additional amount here, the 15.3, we were already overstated by almost twofold in what you stated in this fact sheet, based upon hiring 2 additional people. So,
When we
there's...
finish this, Tanya, we will be able to explain to you where those savings will be. They are here, they're in excess of $83,000, and we will explain to you
Okay, well,
exactly where
the only
it
reason I'm asking the question is because this was strictly on the financial department. So you're saying there's going to be savings in the financial department?
No, there's going to be savings overall, but how could there be $83,000?
It's your fact sheet from January. It's your fact sheet.
I
You
see
put
that.
out,
My fact sheet?
Yeah,
you
that's
guys
over-
handed the fact sheet
Yeah,
out.
that's over 2 years, Kenny.
I understand.
It's over 2 years.
I understand that. What I'm saying is, without even taking this 15.3 into consideration, when you presented this fact sheet in January, you said that there was going to be a savings over 2 years of $83,000. What I'm saying is, with the hiring of Mary Ann and the hiring of the financial assistant, this, before even adding this back in, this 15.3, you've already overstated the savings almost twofold.
That's not true.
No, that's
Well,
Let us
completely
finish.
inaccurate.
We'll
Let us
finish.
finish, and then you can decide how to
Well, actually-
approach that question.
Lorraine, under finance administration, you have Mary Ann, 10 hours, $7,800, cut that. And I have her working 15 hours a night.
Well, that's
Purchase
under you
orders.
already. This is,
I can't do purchase orders. I can't
No.
do everything. Someone has to do the purchase order.
yeah.
So when she comes in and works with me, we talked about the time frame that she's gonna do the purchase orders. Because we already, this is set at 25 hours, I just cut her down to 20.
Okay, but in finance, she's got 10 hours, and 10 hours is just for purchase orders.
And basically what I'm saying is when I was basing it on 20 hours for Mary Ann, it was already overstated, more
Okay,
than almost
so
double
We
in
have
the
talked.
savings.
Okay, but.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry,
You
I
go
don't want to
ahead.
interrupt her.
But you go
Get
ahead and
involved.
finish, and let's get to the point where we
In
will show the savings.
finance, if that employee, which I'll just say the employee because I don't think.
Right, it's not appropriate.
But the financial assistant is only in doing purchase orders for about 10 hours a week. Her other time is from another department that doesn't have anything to do with your shared service. The
Oh,
other,
I understand.
the other administrative support is for tax and sewer. All these functions have to be fulfilled, and there's no way that your finance officer in 16 hours a week can possibly
Lorraine,
get to that.
I'm not, I completely understand what you're saying.
Okay, but
The only thing I'm saying, the only thing I'm saying is, I'm basing,
I know.
Danny, I just want to make the minute simple.
Versus $7,800.
Last year, we paid someone $60,000 who, per the auditor, did nothing. Now we're paying your assistant $7,800 as opposed to $60,000. So there's your
Joe,
savings.
you know something, Joe,
But
hold on a
please
second.
no, we're going
I'm
to
not
continue.
gonna argue with you on this. I
Good.
am trying to state, I think it's important, we're having a budget workshop, okay? I think it's important. I'm seeing numbers here, this is the first time I'm seeing it,
Me too.
okay? And I'm seeing numbers here that do not jive back to the numbers that were presented when you presented to taxpayers what the savings was going to be when we laid off when we laid off the treasurer, payroll, deputy tax collector, okay? You said, I'm only going by your statement here. I had the paper. We were gonna be saving $83,000, more than $83,000 over
Over
2
2
years.
years.
I completely understand that. Okay? So, when you take the numbers that were on this sheet and you add back in the financial administrator, what I'm saying is, this sheet itself was overstated almost twofold in the savings.
Okay,
Well,
honestly,
okay, so we'll let
I
Elaine finish.
heard your point. I disagree with it. We're done. Move on to the next thing, please, because I'm not going to argue with you over your incorrect facts. One thing you haven't
Joe,
said.
these are your
let
facts.
me finish.
These are your facts.
No, my facts are my facts. Your statement that it's been overstated by twofold is pure fabrication and fantasy, number
Joe.
one. Number two, I'm going to finish. Number two, when I made those statements in January, I didn't understand the full level of your gross mismanagement and the gross mismanagement of Bruce Williams and the gross mismanagement of Sharon and the gross mismanagement of Grace. There was a level of incompetence here that I don't think
I don't
anybody
agree.
could have fully grasped.
I don't
And we're
agree.
sitting here starting off with a $300,000 deficit that you and Bruce and Grace concocted. And rather than you sit here and play games over January,
Joe.
you should be apologizing to the taxpayers that we have to sit here. And what I want to hear from you and what I expect from you is positive thoughts and contributions as to how we can clean up the mess that you created. What I'm not going to allow here tonight, and what will not happen, is I'm not going to let you play politics over a fact sheet when our CFO is only on page 2 of a very comprehensive document. We have a lot of work here to do. We have a $370,000 mess that you created, not me. But I'm telling you this, we're going to clean it up and we're going to fix it. And what I hope to hear from you tonight is, Joe, here's how we can save money. That's what I want to hear.
Joe, if I had been involved in helping to prepare this before, I'm just seeing this for the first time tonight. So you're asking me to come forward with how we're gonna save money when I'm seeing this for the first time.
What I'm asking you to do
We're
is
not here
stop
yet. I
politicking right
understand
now
that.
and let us do the workshop.
No, I am not, I need to finish what I'm saying. I'm not politicking,
You are.
okay? The fact that you're saying that there was gross, I don't even wanna go there. You're taking it back to that.
I know you don't want to go
You're taking
there.
it back there, okay? So I am just going by, I'm looking at numbers that are being presented here tonight, and I'm looking at what was presented in January to say this is how we're gonna run the finance department this year. That was you and Elaine that put these facts together, not me.
That's correct, and when we're done,
There we
we
go.
will get it,
Okay.
show
So,
you.
please-
but-
So let's
continue. We have a lot of work.
But I do want to, as we go through this, I wanna
Yeah,
cover this.
Good. Cover it.
Absolutely.
And I don't wanna be shut down.
No, and you shouldn't be shut down,
That's correct.
Tanya.
That's
You
correct.
should receive,
From
you should.
contributions, not politics.
And the other thing too,
Wait a
Joe,
minute,
I
wait
just
a
wanna
minute,
say
so
one more
that you
thing.
can
You are not a
understand.
strong mayor, okay? I wanna state that. This is a team that's gonna work together here. These numbers are being put in front of
And my
us.
expectation is that you work and you don't politic, so knock
I'm
it
not
off.
politicking anything.
You are. Knock it
Well,
off.
This
No,
is-
don't
I'm
tell me to knock it off.
tired of you interfering with the township business.
No. Lorraine,
You
go
have
ahead.
something
Lorraine, go
productive to
ahead.
say it. Please continue.
I did have an elevated,
Why don't you resign?
Why don't you resign? You actually should resign. You are a disgrace. Your performance is a disgrace. Your attitude is a disgrace. You are an embarrassment to this town as far as I'm concerned.
You better look at your own behavior, Joe.
It's not my behavior, it's yours. Knock it off. Please continue.
I did inflate the annual audit cost to reflect an additional amount that I would imagine the auditor had to spend a decent amount of time here in January.
Can there's one, I noticed this. $45,000, the last auditor was 21.8. He bid this contract, I saw the bid, 10% under what the last year's auditor bid. So that tells me he should be coming in about 20,000, not 45.
You keep ignoring the mess that you left here. The work that has had to be done to clean up this mess is monumental. All you do is just keep blaming what's going on now as
So
opposed
the
to
auditor bid,
recognizing.
he put in a contract for 10% less than last year's auditor.
Yes, and expected not
So
to
that's
find
what
what
we're
he
now,
found.
we're now
He
budgeting.
expected to find a standard job, not as he stated, the worst in his 37-year history, which actually compelled him to contact the state.
I did add extra money in to account for the additional time that I knew he had to spend. I don't have a firm figure on that, so.
So we're not holding him to his contract, is what I'm hearing.
I don't know. I would imagine that for the contractual work that he performed, that he should be held to the contract.
I would
For
say
the
so.
additional work, just like any professional, if you have anything else that comes up through the year, whether it's legal or an extra engineering project.
So in effect,
or
you're
for audit.
making an assumption here, there has been no discussion with the auditor.
No.
Is that correct?
No,
Thank
I
you.
know that there will be additional fees
Okay.
incurred, but I do
So
not know
thank you,
how much
Lorraine,
they'll
let's
be.
move on.
The payroll service, there's an increase in that because of the additional services that the new payroll company is performing. All the pension work, the third-party payments that they're
Now,
making.
we know that there was some miscalculations in the pensions for some departments, and are we going back into looking at that at some point when we have more time when the budget is done?
Is that in reference to stipends?
Stipends that should not have been calculated into the budget?
No
Into
one,
this-
no one has asked me to do that. If you'd like me to go back,
Yes.
I can.
Well, I'm not understanding what we're talking about stipends and pensions.
Well, when we were.
I understand what stipends are,
I
Joe.
know-
I'm asking a question, so you don't need to laugh.
Can you just listen to me at this point? Just, the stipends were included inside of the salaries after we negotiated one of our contracts, or both of the contracts.
What are we talking stipends?
Stipends are like small amounts of money for extra work that some people do, and they have a stipend. The contract actually does not allow for stipends to be included in their pension funds. So therefore, monies were paid to pension that should not have been paid for the stipends that were received.
Are we talking the police department? Who receives stipends?
Well, that's one of the departments that received the stipend. So we're going to, Yes, they do.
What kind of, can you just give me an example of what?
Detective gets a stipend, formerly the DARE officer got a stipend, those things are not
No,
pensionable.
I'm sorry, only the detective one was the one that was into the pension.
We don't know that, Rich. We-
No, well, because of the way the salary was set and their overtime rate and everything else was
Mhm.
included with the detective. But the DARE officer gets a check every year at the end of the year. It wasn't done. for the
Okay, so
pension.
let's
Yeah.
not say the DARE, but just that in itself was included into the salaries and the pensions, and it really shouldn't have. We don't know how long it was going on. We don't know when it started, but R&L did know that it should not have been included when we did the research. So R&L was aware that it shouldn't have been done and didn't know why it was done. So, go on, Lori.
So now, if you would all like me to
Is it
look
just a
back into
payroll
that.
error?
Mhm.
It's a payroll error.
We'll figure it out how bad it is. We don't know if it's that bad or not, but it's something that shouldn't have been done.
Right, but there was an issue with that as far as, that's been part of the contract since 1996. So what I'm
Yes.
saying is that when the contract was negotiated, that was always rolled into the salary. And that
No, it
was,
wasn't.
no,
It's a separate stipend.
no, but it was always rolled for the detective himself, it was always rolled into the salary. That's been since, I've been here in 2000, it's always been the practice,
Is that
so.
outlined
According to
directly in the
R&L,
contract?
they
That
have
was
never
part of the-
put
they-
in stipends as part of the pension. It may have been rolled into the salary, but it was not, it was identified and not put in as pension. It might not be that much, it might not, it may be, but
Yeah,
it's
the
something we
stipend
have
is
to go back
$2,000
and
a
look.
year.
It's something we have to go back and look, we don't know when it started.
$500 one as well.
$500 one? That's a cut check? For the
You can't,
No, it's
You
like a
can't-
detective and an assistant detective.
Yeah, that's $500, that was always a cut check.
you can't cut a check.
Now,
Just cut
you know,
it.
there are certain fees, like the DARE officer,
DARE
K-9
officer, the
unit,
TAC
things like
unit,
that.
all of those were.
Yeah, those are a lump sum
lump
check
sum
paid
check.
at the end of the year. The two
But still
detective
through
ones.
payroll, or no?
Yes, still through
Okay.
payroll.
Because
It's
there was
just-
a time when
it's
there
not
wasn't things
pensionable
like that
salary.
paid through payroll.
Right, the other two stipends, the two detective stipends, the 2,000 and the 500, they were rolled into the hourly rate. The problem with that then is that the hourly rate is what the pension contribution is based off of. And what it should have been, X amount of dollars for your normal salary, and then 2,000 divided by however many, 2,080 hours, that would be an additional amount paid, but not
But it would be a
pensionable
separate
salary.
But not
line
in pension.
item. It would be a
Right.
separate line
Now,
item.
now it's separated. Now the regular pay is say $1,000 a pay, and the stipend is $76 a pay. So now it's separated. On the check, it doesn't look any different. On the check, it's still the same
Right.
lump salary. But the difference now is that the pensionable salary is the $1,000, not the $76. So I can go back and look into that, but it won't be for a while yet.
Okay, no, but, do we agree that that should be looked into?
Makes sense.
Okay. Okay.
For the tax collector, the salaries and wages are again broken out the same way that finance and clerk work, with the primary tax collector and then the clerical support, which is really the data entry for that department.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the data entry for that department. Effective June, we are looking at receiving sewer and and tax collecting through Edmunds direct deposit, so that or direct line payments, so that the residents can go online. They're going to be able to pay their own bills online. They're going to be able to see their statements. They're going to be able to understand what their sewer payments are, what they are behind, what the interest rates are. They're going to be able to understand what their tax bills are. Loan companies that are holding notes on each of the houses can go in and take a look at their history. They can also look at their history. And the other thing that we found was banks that have multi-landowners in the town can download to our system, into the Edmunds system, and automatically update without anyone having to do a keystroke or anything.
There's a little time involved, but you don't have to.
It's
enter
not
it.
not one by one,
Right.
none of that stuff. So that's a savings right there in time and energy and manpower.
So how much is that costing us on this line item here? Where is that?
It's not, there's, for the admin service, it's $600 for tax, $600 for sewer,
Per month or year?
an annual fee.
So $1,200. So is that it? That's not in here?
That's included,
Under
in
tax.
software.
Software?
Mhm.
So I can go on and pay my sewer bill, is what you're
Yep.
telling me, pay my sewer bill?
Yeah, you would go on through greenwichtownship.org. You can look up your account, you can see all your past history, your past payments. If you want to pay it June 1st, you can type in June 1st, and it'll tell you how much interest. For an online check or an ACH, I think it's $1.05 for a service fee. For a debit or credit card payment.
So who's paying that, the resident?
It's it would be a convenience fee, I think it's.
Mhm.
So they're only charging us $600
A year.
a year for residents to go in
And
to
put
do
their
that?
own, yes.
Yeah.
And what's the other besides sewer, what was the other
Sewer and
one?
taxes.
Okay.
And so then, when the banks issue their multi-group thing, it automatically goes and gets downloaded right into the admin system, and we don't have to do anything. Then when they want to know if somebody is selling their house or remortgaging everything is on the computer. They go right to the admin system and pick it up.
So
And
who's reconciling the tax payments themselves?
There'll still be, the big savings is that you don't have to actually enter in the payment. What happens, you just do a real simple keystroke, you import the payment, you print the batch, you update the batch, and that's it. There's really nothing to.
So that's if residents choose to do that. If they don't, they would still come in and.
Right, absolutely.
We believe that more people will turn to that as we go.
And we should, when we make that switch, we'll be providing the residents notices and
Oh, yeah.
bills so that they know to go there.
Yeah,
Not
we're
only that, I
hoping
think
to-
we're going to do something in the Gazette as well and put that in.
Hopefully it'll coincide with the annual billing, so that we can have notations right on the annual.
And where
bills.
did their,
Now you pay them.
where did the monies go?
It goes directly into our,
Check our bank account.
the taxes will go right into the credit fund, the utility payments will go right into the sewer.
So if I pay something with my credit card, you're saying it'll go right into,
Our account. We'll get, when you import the batch, it'll say you receive $500 in 3 utility payments. You update the batch, and that amount, that say it's $428, that'll show up as a deposit in our
so
checking
do you
account.
use that system in Alpha today for tax and sewer? And it's working well?
It's just getting started. We just started with it earlier this year, and so far it's been amazing. Really, really amazing. You get an email every day saying that there were, say, 3 tax payments and 2 utility payments, or, I mean, half is a lot smaller than Greenwich, but hopefully in Greenwich it'll be, you've received 56 tax payments and 300 utility payments.
So we haven't worked on the reconciliation of that right now, because in your, I guess in Alpha, the tax collector reconciles that?
Well,
Yeah, there's
printouts are going to be given to Gordon to reconcile, yes.
Right, so he'll still have
He'll still
a printout
have
of the
authority.
batch. It'll still show every payment, every consumer, their block and lot. It'll still be the same detail. The savings will be that you don't have to actually enter in, block 24, lot 6, enter and then enter the payment and visually inspect it.
And actually, Gordon's
Payments
pretty excited
input.
about this. I'm very happy to say that he's pretty excited about this, that the reports will be printed out and he'll still have that
It
sort
should
of
really
input.
expedite the whole process.
Okay.
So that was for tax collection. There's been no big change. The only, I would call it significant for this department reduction has been in the education, because there's no one taking the tax classes, so that dropped from 4,000 to 1,500. On page 3, that starts with.
That's for CEUs, right?
Yes. That and the overall tax classes. I think that's why it was so high last year. The tax classes were still being taken last year for certification. For assessment of taxes, everything there has stayed pretty much the same. There's really not a lot of variables. It was mentioned to me that this is, I think it's called the 3rd year where the farmland assessments are done.
Yes.
I'm not really familiar with that, but I think that there's an actual inspection that the assessor does.
There's also, Mike, and maybe you can speak to this, some sort of issue going on with land who has solar on their property as not being farmland assessed.
Oh,
There was something legislatively that
right,
came
and I'm not
in.
sure where that's at. I know
I
that
don't
was
know either,
discussed
so
in some
let's
proposed legislation that
Keep that in
exactly
the back of
that,
your
that
mind,
will,
because that's something we need to.
they could sacrifice their farmland assessment
Yep.
should they have some degree of
It depends
solar.
upon what their
It-
size,
it-
yeah.
it-
Even for their own
Exactly.
consumption, you mean?
Excuse me?
No,
For their
no,
own power?
not for their own consumption.
Well, no, there would
Oh,
be,
oh.
exact.
Not for their
Not
own.
if-
Oh, okay.
any more than
I-
that. I
that
think it's up
makes
to
sense.
120% if I'm not mistaken,
Oh,
of
okay.
their use
All right.
and so forth.
All right, makes sense.
Okay,
So there may be an increase of $1,900 into that.
Okay.
Just check with the assessor.
mm-hmm,
For legal services, I did give a shout out to all of the legal representation that the township has, all 15 legal personnel, however many there are. And they did give me best guesstimates. I just wanted to bring up that there was, I want to say 16, we added it up today, 17,000 for the low pat that wasn't originally anticipated. So we'll have to keep that in mind as the legal runs through
that's
the year.
pretty much
That, you know,
I would say that the majority of the fees associated with that would have been incurred. There should be, my guess would be in the next 60 days, there'll be a briefing schedule. Council will have to prepare a brief, and then there might be 1 day of oral argument, and that should be it.
We'll ask him for an estimate.
Yeah.
So we can.
but
Budget.
that
I don't
17
know what, I know we had a number, but I can't remember what the resolution was.
I'm pretty sure when this was put together that wasn't anticipated. So you'll have 17,000 less of legal to
Okay.
to go. So
Okay.
just keep that in mind as the year goes on. Engineering, I think you're going to cut that whole department now.
Well, there's not 15 of us anyway. Some comfort level, right?
Can we just go back to legal for
Oh,
one
sure.
second? I would have thought that this would have dropped more than, it would have been reduced more than what I'm saying here.
For the labor portion.
Yeah.
Okay, that's really the only response that I did get back, that was what they would think it would finish out at. That was the term I think that was, so I'm not really that familiar with that. But I did rely on.
So I thought we were pretty much at the tail end of that. That-
Well, they were still in discovery, and they haven't had the trial yet, so, I mean, I know they were still taking depositions. So believe it or not, it was still in the discovery stage.
If anybody wants to double check with any of the legal counsel,
No, I'm not questioning, I'm just surprised that it's not lower than
I'd be happy to.
$150,000.
Anybody else wants to check in? Engineering was kept kind of the same. Elaine and I did go over it and cut a decent amount out of all of the OE budgets to begin with, so there is a little bit less than what it was last year.